Question number 11. The graph shows the trend from an enzyme catalyzed reaction. Which labels are correct for the x-axis and y-axis? X-axis, y-axis. So since this is an enzyme catalyzed reaction, the x-axis should be the rate of reaction or the precession of the rate of reaction. This could be another quantity. So one minute. No, sorry, what am I doing? That is not the rate of reaction, so sorry. This one is the rate of reaction. At this point it reaches a peak, and this is the variable to change. So this is the variable that will change to observe the rate of reaction. So y-axis should be rate of reaction. So those are wrong. Okay, rate of reaction. That is also wrong. Which statement about the Michaelis-Menten constant Km are correct? Okay, so we know that Km is directly proportional to 1 by affinity, means inversely proportional to affinity. So the higher the Km, the higher the enzyme. So that is wrong, because Km increase, affinity decrease. So 1 is wrong. Oh, so D should be the answer. So Km is a measured degree of enzyme affinity, correct. Km is defined as the substrate concentration at which the enzyme functions at. So if this is a graph, so this is the maximum rate, this is the half rate. So at this point, this is the Km. So these are correct. So we will move on. Question 13. The diagram shows how nicotine is transported from the blood plasma into a cell using a type of co-transporter mechanism, right? So we can see nicotine is transported against its concentration gradient, protons move down their concentration gradient, co-transporter protein, cytoplasm, blood plasma, cell surface membrane. Which statement correctly describes the similarity between the co-transporter of nicotine and co-transporter of sucrose? The co-transporter protein generates a proton gradient by moving protons out of the cell. That is wrong. The protons are transmitted through co-transporter protein by facilitated diffusion, right? It's not by active transport, so it should be B. The proton moves through the same co-transporter protein it is actually the same direction, so that is wrong. The co-transporter protein use energy from ATP to transport protons with nicotine, and no, that is not a similarity. So okay, so it's just B. The diagram shows a simple metabolic pathway WXYZ. The letters this represent 4 different substances. At each step in the diagram, the next substrate undergoes a chemical reaction catalyzed by an enzyme. The reaction produces the next substance in the pathway. Describe enzymes taking part. Okay, so they're all globular. That's correct. They all have the same. Okay, so this is wrong. Why? Because not mentioned that same enzyme, right? The enzymes could be different, so the active sites are different, I would suggest. So 2 is wrong. Answer should be C, and they all contain hydrogen atoms in their structure, right? Because amino acids, right? Proteins, amino acids. So 1 and 3 is the correct answer. Question 15. The student observed the effect of 2 different concentrations of salt solution on blood cells. The student added each concentration of salt solution to one of 2 microscope slides, and then a small drop of fresh blood was added. Each slide was viewed using the high power lens of a microscope, and the student's observation were recorded. No red blood cells were visible. The red blood cells were visible but looked slightly crinkled. So in this one, water entered, so they bursted. So bursted, the cells bursted, and the red blood cells were visible but looked slightly crinkled. So water out of RBC, so water is moved out, right? So the water potential of the cell was more negative than the water potential of the external solution. The water potential was more negative than the, so water entered, this could be correct. The water potential of the external solution was more negative than the water potential, so yes, water exited, this could be correct. Let's see. A swelling of the cell, this is correct. The water potential of the cell more negative than the water potential, more negative, the water potential of the cell. No, if this would have been the case, then water would have entered, so that is wrong. So let's say this is something, a container, this is minus V and outside is plus V, a more minus V, less minus V, so water would enter. So B should actually be the answer. The water potential of the cell was less negative, it has to be more negative. There's a net movement of water out, water in by osmosis, as I just explained here and here. The water potential of the external solution was less negative, this is correct. The water potential of the cell was very similar but slightly slightly more negative than the water potential. So more negative would cause water to enter, not so water enter. So that is wrong. Answer should be this is a good question. Answer should be B. Question 16. Which statement correctly describes facilitated diffusion? The process only occurs using channel proteins that change shape. No, it occurs also by carrier proteins. Process occurs using channel proteins or carrier proteins that may or may not change shape. That is correct. The process occurs using channel proteins or carrier proteins that use energy provided by, not both, right? Not both. The process only occurs using carrier proteins. Wrong. It uses both. So we will move on to question number 17. Which row is correct for stem cells? So can repair cells, that is wrong, because they repair tissue and they also can be specialized, right? We know these facts about stem cells. So answer will be between these two. Can be involved in the formation of phagocytes? Yes, definitely. Can be specialized and they do cell division, so can form many phagocytes. So question 18. Eukaryotic organisms grow and increase in size as a result Question 18. Eukaryotic organisms grow and increase in size as a result of cell division. The diagram shows some stages of mitosis with one stage missing, labeled X. So this stage is metaphase and this stage is telophase. So the stage in between is anaphase. And in what happens in stage X in anaphase, the diagram is like this. We'll draw the centrioles and like some structure like this, some structure like this, and then some structure like this, and some structures like this, and they're joined by microtubules, right? So spindle fibers attached to the centromeres and the chromosomes line up. That is wrong. The chromatin coils and condenses. Wrong. Chromosomes line up in pairs. Wrong. Microtubules shorten so that spindle fibers contract and centromeres divide. This is what is happening in this. Question 19. The graph shows various distance measurements taken from the start of metaphase of mitosis. The graphs are to scale when compared to one another. Which row correctly identifies the distance measurement for each graph? So distance between poles of spindle, distance. So for this two, always fixed distance. So these two are wrong. Distance of centromeres from poles of spindle, this is correct. This two. Distance between sister chromatids increase from metaphase to telophase. And for this one, a non-zero distance at beginning, which we cannot see here. There is 0 to start, so the answer is C. Question 20. Which row is correct for the start of anaphase of mitosis? During anaphase, the sister chromatids start to separate, so it will be between C and D, and DNA is acid. It is always histone, always present, so not sometimes. So answer should be C. And state the state of the cell surface membrane. It is intact during anaphase.